Hello everyone, if you're making body butters, you might be doing one of the 6 mistakes that are the most common mistakes that beginners do while making the body butters. But don't worry, I am here to show you how to fix the problems to make smooth, fluffy body butters like this every time you make the body butters. So let's get started. Mistake number 1, incorrect oil to butter ratio. What happens if you use too much of butters? Generally, if you're using a larger quantity of harder butters, your body butter becomes very hard very fast and it becomes too hard that you cannot evenly apply it on the skin. What happens if you use too much of oils? If you're using too much of softer category of oil, there are chances that the body butter is very liquidy and it doesn't harden up even after time. So when you're using it, it's very watery and it has a lot of oil that makes it also greasy. How to fix this problem? Always make sure that you're using the correct ratio of oils and butters that is required for making a body butter formulation. Because if you're using too much of soft oils, it makes it super greasy. If you're using too much of hard butters, it makes it too hard. And if you're using more butters and less oil, then also it becomes very hard and very greasy. So always keep in mind to use the correct ratio of oils and butters. You can play around different ratios like 60 to 40, that is 60% butters and 40% oils. Or you can do 70-30, that is 70 parts of butters and 30 parts of oils. But the oil and the butter ratio is also very region specific. If you are living in hotter areas, then you have to formulate your own recipe so that the butters don't melt. The same goes for people who are living in the colder climate, that if you live in a very cold climate, then you have to play around with the soft oils and the butters so that when you make the body butters and store them, they don't become super solidified that you cannot apply it on the skin. So the oil and the butter ratio is also sometimes very regional. So please make sure when you're formulating, keep the correct ratio of oils and the butters. Mistake number 2 is overheating the oils and the butters. High heat can sometimes destroy the nutrients of the oils and the butters. For people who are using the cold process technique, that is, you're going to melt your oils and butters and then cool it later to make the body butters, then you have to keep in mind that you do not heat the ingredients too much. How to fix it? Always use a double boiler technique to melt gently the oils and the butters so that you don't overheat them. What happens if you overheat them? The first, they become so hot that it takes a lot of time in cooling. Second, if you heat it too much, they sometimes also smell bad. And the third, if you heat it too much, they lost their property and the nutrients which you are looking for after making the body butters. If you're overheating the butters, you are destroying all the nutrients and the properties of the butter. So make sure you always do it very gently and you only have to melt the oils and the butters till they turn into liquid state, because sometimes the hard butters like the cocoa butters, they need a little bit more time to heat up completely to become liquefied. But if you're using too much of heat, chances are you're destroying the properties. So make sure that when you're melting the oils and butters, you have to immediately stop as soon as the hard butters they have turned into liquid. That's the point you have to stop and make sure you're not overheating it a lot. Mistake number 3 is making larger batches. What happens if you make a larger batches? You are using up a lot of oils and butters, and in case your formulation is not correct, you are wasting a lot of your precious oils and butters, and to be honest, they are not that cheap. So how to fix it? If you're a beginner, you're making body butters for the very first time, you should always go with smaller batches and batches like 50 gram, 60 gram, 100 gram or maximum of 200 gram at once. So to go with, this container around 50 to 60 gram is a very good idea to begin with, because in this, even if it goes bad, you're not wasting a lot of raw materials and you can also try it out with just 50 grams. So the fix is always start small. You can start with 50 grams, you can go up to 200 grams. And if you're happy with the formulation, you can always scale it high to bigger batches. If you're liking the video so far, don't forget to click on the subscribe button to get more such informational videos. Mistake number 4 is inadequate cooling before whipping the body butters. What is the problem in that? If you're whipping the body butters when it's not completely cool, it makes them very runny and sometimes it leads to separation of the oils and the butters. So how to fix it? If you're using the cooling technique of making the whipped body butters, you need to melt the ingredients first and then let it cool them around 15 to 20 minutes in the refrigerator. Depending upon the batch size, you might have to keep it longer. So if you put it in the refrigerator and you take it out, you have to check the center of the bowl or the container that you're using just to check if the entire body butter has been cooled. Because sometimes if it's not completely cooled and you start whipping, it makes it more runny, as well as it leads to change in the texture of the body butters. So always keep in mind, when you're using the cooling technique, put it in the refrigerator for enough time before you start whipping your body butters. Mistake number 5 is adding fragrance oil or essential oil at the wrong time. What's the problem? If you're using fragrances and essential oils in the body butters, and if your mixture is too hot, chances are the essential oil and the fragrance oil, they will evaporate from the mixture. So once you have packed your body butters in the containers and you have let it cool completely and you try to take a smell, then there's no scent of fragrances because you added them at a very high temperature and the chances are they're completely evaporated. So the final product doesn't have any fragrance or any essential oil. So how do you fix this problem? Wait till your mixture is completely cool and it's around 40 degrees Celsius, because that's the appropriate temperature to start adding the essential oil or the fragrance oil of your choice. Because if you're adding at right temperature, there are lesser chances of evaporation of your oils and you get a nice fragrance from the fragrance oil that you've added in the body butter in the final product. So last mistake is the improper storage. What's the problem in it? If you are putting your body butters in the containers that are not airtight and they're exposed to the air, the heat or the sunlight, then there are chances that they become rancid very fast. Because they're completely natural oils and butters, we're not using any preservatives in the recipe, then the chances are the oils, they get rancid. How to fix this problem? Always fill your butters in an airtight container like this so that it has a cap and it's completely airtight. Also try to use opaque containers so that they don't react with the sunlight or the moisture, and this helps to keep the body butters completely safe from getting rancid. And the second option is you can put a small quantity of vitamin E oil in your body butter formulation, so it helps prevention from rancidity and also at the same time it increases the shelf life of your body butter. That means you can put vitamin E to keep your body butters for a longer duration of time, and you also prevent the body butters from getting rancid. Now you know how to avoid these mistakes while making your own batch of body butters. Don't forget to click on the subscribe button because every week I share some informational videos regarding the skincare making and how to use different skincare products. Let me know in the comment section if you have made any one of these mistakes while making body butters. Follow along for more DIY skincare tips. See you in the next video.